In 1980, around 400 people across a chain of islands in southern Japan were bitten by habu pit vipers. Some of them died. An antidote existed, but it needed refrigeration. The rural mountain villages where most bites happened had no electricity and no cold storage. Building infrastructure would take years and cost a fortune. So Japan tried something else entirely. They released an animal that hunts venomous snakes for a living and barely flinches at their bite. It should have worked. 25 years later, 15 native species were fighting for survival because of it. I'm Ambrose Wild, and what happened on this island over the next 45 years turned a good idea into an ecological nightmare. In 1979, Japanese wildlife officials brought roughly 30 small Indian mongooses to Amami Oshima, a subtropical island in the Ryukyu chain, about 300 kilometers south of the mainland. The island sits in dense subtropical forest and is one of the most biodiverse places in Japan. The plan had two targets. First, reduce the habu pit viper bites that have been terrorizing rural communities for decades. Second, keep the local rat population under control. Both targets seemed perfectly reasonable. The small Indian mongoose is native to South Asia. It's lived alongside venomous snakes in India, Bangladesh, Nepal and Pakistan for thousands of years. And the wildlife on Amami Oshima had never dealt with anything like it. To see why the mongoose seemed like the obvious choice, look at what evolution did to this animal. Small Indian mongooses carry specialized acetylcholine receptors that make them far less sensitive to snake venom. A cobra bite that would kill most mammals barely slows a mongoose down. Their reflexes are quick enough to dodge a strike mid-lunge and land a killing bite before the snake can recoil. Cobras and the habu are closely related, so the logic tracked. If mongooses handle cobras in the grasslands of India, they should have no trouble with pit vipers on a Japanese island. There was one problem, and it was so basic that it's almost embarrassing. Mongooses are diurnal. They're active during the day. The habu pit viper is nocturnal. It comes out at night. These two animals almost never cross paths in the wild, and they didn't cross paths on Amami Oshima either. But even if their schedules had lined up, it probably still wouldn't have mattered. Snakes are difficult prey. They strike back, they're fast, and catching one takes effort. The mongooses looked around the island and found bird eggs, insects, mice, and baby Amami rabbits everywhere. Easy meals, zero risk. Picking a fight with a habu when there's a nest of eggs 10 feet away is like walking past a buffet to eat at the one restaurant in town that bites back. The mongooses never went after the snakes, not in any way that mattered. What they did instead was breed. Without natural predators on the island, and with easy food everywhere, the mongoose population exploded. By the year 2000, an estimated 10,000 mongooses were roaming Amami Oshima. The original 30 animals had multiplied more than 300 times over in just 2 decades. Every single one of them was eating through the island's native wildlife, from bird eggs on the forest floor to frogs and small reptiles hiding under fallen logs, and completely ignoring the venomous snakes they'd been brought to kill. The Ministry of the Environment raised the alarm in 1993, but by then the damage was already spreading faster than anyone could contain it. Amami Oshima is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a subtropical island home to species that exist nowhere else on Earth. The mongooses tore through it. The worst hit was the Amami rabbit. Scientists call it a living fossil because it's the last surviving member of an ancient line of Asian rabbits that once spread across the mainland. Today, that species hangs on across just 2 tiny islands south of Japan. The mongooses drove their numbers down so fast that the Amami rabbit is now officially endangered. The Amami spiny rat, another species found only on these islands, got pushed toward extinction. Ground-nesting birds lost entire clutches of eggs across the forest floor. Reptile populations collapsed. In total, 15 endemic species took direct hits from an animal that was introduced with good intentions. And the damage wasn't limited to wildlife. Mongooses raided chicken coops and destroyed fruit crops across the island's farms. They spread disease to the animals they didn't eat. In 20 years, the habitat range of several small native animals shrank by 40%. Islands are uniquely fragile. The species that evolve on them grow up without ground predators and have no idea how to defend themselves. One introduced predator can undo millions of years of evolution in a couple of decades. The Japanese government launched a formal eradication program in the year 2000. The first attempts were rough. Standard traps set along the island's roads caught almost nothing. The mongooses were too cautious and too quick to fall for them. The approach had to get more serious. Engineers designed traps specifically shaped for mongooses so other island animals couldn't get caught by accident. Toxic baits and chemical attractants lured the mongooses toward trap lines by scent. Monitoring networks tracked population density across the island's forests and coastline. Trained detection dogs were brought in to sniff out mongoose trails through the densest undergrowth. Starting in 2005, organised squads of mongoose hunters hit the forests on foot. Local volunteers, hired specialists and residents combed through vegetation and set traps in areas the dogs flagged. Slow, expensive, physically exhausting work that stretched across years. But the results showed. Year after year, capture numbers climbed as the trap network expanded, and the mongoose population fell steadily in response. 32,000 individual mongooses were captured over the life of the program. The last confirmed capture happened in April of 2018. For 6 years after that, not a single mongoose turned up on Amami Oshima. Search dogs came back empty. Camera traps across the island picked up nothing. In 2024, Japan's Ministry of the Environment made it official. The small Indian mongoose had been completely eradicated from the island. If that kind of story is what keeps you watching, subscribe. I cover the strangest collisions between humans and wildlife, and the next one is already in the works. That eradication matters well beyond Amami Oshima. Only 9 cases exist worldwide where mongooses have been successfully removed after introduction. Amami Oshima is the largest island any country has ever cleared. The bigger the area, the harder it gets to find every last animal. Japan pulled it off, but it took the better part of half a century. And about those snake bites that started this whole story. By 2020, Habu pit viper bites across the southern islands had dropped to around 60 per year. Since 1992, not a single person has died from one. But the mongooses deserve none of the credit. The decline came from wider antidote distribution across rural clinics, better roads connecting remote mountain villages, public safety campaigns, and improved medical access. People solved the snake problem on their own. The mongooses spent 20 years creating a completely different disaster. The fight isn't done. Mongooses still live on other Japanese islands, and the biggest concern right now is Okinawa. Mongooses arrived there during the Meiji era, roughly 70 years before they reached Amami Oshima. 17 animals were released at the time, and the conditions on Okinawa are even more favourable. The island sits closer to the mongoose's natural tropical range in Southeast Asia, so birth rates and survival rates both run higher. Right now, L-shaped fences along the northern coast of Okinawa keep the mongoose population penned in the central and southern regions. The fences aren't tall, but the angled base prevents digging, and so far the barrier is holding. A specialist team from the Amami Oshima Eradication campaign is being deployed to northern Okinawa next. 3 endemic bird species on the island are running out of time, and if the mongooses push past the fence line, Amami Oshima could face re-invasion all over again. Japan isn't the only country that tried this. In the 1880s, sugarcane plantation owners in Hawaii imported 72 mongooses from Jamaica to stop rats from chewing through their crops. The rats had been eating into the sugarcane stalks for the sweetness, and Caribbean plantation owners reportedly claimed that mongooses had solved the same problem for them. Same animal, same logic, same outcome. Rats come out at night. Mongooses don't. The two barely cross paths on the Hawaiian Islands. Instead, the mongooses went after native birds, sea turtle eggs on the beaches, and endemic reptiles across the forests. At least 8 bird species native to Hawaii are now on the federal endangered species list, partly because of mongoose predation. The difference comes down to timing. Japan caught the problem and pushed through a 45-year eradication campaign. Hawaii waited too long. The mongoose population across the Hawaiian Islands is now so deeply established that full removal is considered nearly impossible. The original Caribbean introduction triggered its own chain reaction. After a British colonist released mongooses on his Jamaican plantation in 1872, they spread across the island and gutted local bird and reptile populations. With fewer lizards eating insects, a massive tick outbreak swept the colony. On St. Croix, the ground lizards that share the island's name were completely wiped out. Only 400 survived on 2 small offshore islands, and it took a dedicated rescue effort to bring their numbers back to 3,000. People have been trying to put mongooses to work for a very long time. In a study of ancient Egyptian tombs dating back 4,000 years, archaeologists found a wall painting showing a figure leading a mongoose on a leash and collar. It's the only image of its kind in all of Egyptian art. The animal was probably used to flush birds out of cover during hunts. Sri Lanka once got a $50,000 government grant to train mongooses as drug detection animals at the National Zoo in Colombo. If a mongoose can sniff out a cobra hiding in a farmer's field, it should be able to sniff out contraband in a shipping container. The mongooses actually passed their tests, but a change in government leadership killed the project before it ever launched. 4,000 years of trying to put these animals to work, and we still can't get them to follow the plan. I'm Ambrose Wild. If you want more stories about the animals we tried to control and the chaos that came after, the next one is waiting for you on screen right now.